It's called Navier-Stokes, and you can integrate it like with finite elements or whatever. And then you find your solution for a certain problem. No problem. This is what physics does. And I think this is what anarchism is to the problem of society. One of the biggest illusions we are growing into and that is pushed onto our minds as humans is the dogma of control hierarchies and centralized solutions. And I think anarchism is of course the solution, because it does not need, or it is not, the solution lies basically in not searching for a centralized solution. And imagine you want to solve like the society problem, which means basically how to distribute resources, distribute information and whatever. How to do it, right? And usually if you are like a math person, you would think of this as some kind of like problem that looks like a traveling salesman problem. It's like combinatorics, it's like thinking about logistics. And of course it's an NP-hard problem, right? That's why we can't have a solution. There is just too many people and too many different perspectives on certain stuff, and there is a lot of conflict in all these people and all these interaction between the people, right? So how does nature solve problems like this? Because nature can solve problems like this. For example, the traveling salesman problem can be solved by fucking fungi. You just let it grow into a certain configuration that basically maps your setting of the traveling salesman problem, and the fungi solves it for you. And how does it do it? I mean, there is no blueprint, right? But nature finds a solution by evolving, by basically following a local script, right? Because fungi is just growing. It's a growing algorithm. It grows locally. So I think it is obvious that if you find yourself with a super hard, let's say NP-hard problem, and you want to solve it, you do not search for like the perfect analytical solution. You search for something that you can integrate over local time points or whatever, like small patches, like finite resolution of whatever space you are solving your problem in. And to me, this basically looks as if anarchism is similar to physics, because in physics you basically are not anymore interested in solving the Navier-Stokes equation analytically. You basically gave up on this like 100 years ago. So you got the equation, it's called Navier-Stokes, and you can integrate it like with finite elements or whatever. And then you find your solution for a certain problem. No problem. This is what physics does. And I think this is what anarchism is to the problem of society. You do just not need a global, centralized, blueprint, analytical, perfect solution. You just need one solution that fits for your certain setting, for your configuration of all the humans and stuff. So anarchism will always find a solution and will probably converge, because it is basically the same principle as the fungi. It is just a locally solidarity principle stuff. And it works because it involves all humans, and all humans can and should participate in anarchism locally. And that's why it can solve all these problems. I think computational wise, it's basically obvious that that this is like the thing, right? You just cannot find a centralized solution that works for all people. You always will find you will always end up with a centralized solution that fits for some people, but not for all. And basically, for the most part, not even for a majority. It will only work for a minority. Usually, the parts that are up in the based in the power hierarchy, you are solving that basically builds up your solution for the problem. And yeah, so basically, anarchism is like the partial differential equation, and you integrate it by parts, and that's it, right? And I think Robert Oppenheimer was a fucking anarchist, because I just found a quotation and I will read it for you. He said, "It may be a question whether there is one way of bringing a wider unity in our time. That unity, I think, can only be based on a rather different kind of structure than the most of us have in mind when we talk about the unity of culture." So he's talking about society and stuff. The unity we can seek lies really in two things. One is that the knowledge that comes to us in such a terrifyingly, inhumanely rapid rate has some order in it. He basically talks about physics, right? Because we find ourselves always like, oh, this is interesting, but we can explain it with physics. So now the quotation follows. The second is simply this: we can have each other to dinner. We ourselves and with each other by our converse can create not an architecture of global scope, but an immense, intricate network of intimacy, illumination, and understanding. So he is basically telling, we cannot find a solution that everyone agrees on a global scale, that is decentralized, that is centralized and says, yeah, this is a solution. What we can do is we can grow a network of human interactions, and that's it, based on a local principle, for example, solidarity. And I think this is what anarchism does. And that's why I think anarchism is the solution. It finds the solution to the complex problems of our times, just by integrating the whole shit locally. So that's it. Bye, YouTube.